How to Handle Fear in the Face of Adversity. Susan Jeffers wrote a great book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And it's an amazing book because it teaches you about fear and what's at the core of fear. There's some core fears that are really in control of us today. And they are things like this: the death of a family member. That is really a big one. Dying alone. Maybe that, you fear that. Maybe letting people down is a fear that you have. Or maybe friends getting tired of you. Maybe that's another fear you have. Or failing a family member, or having a relapse. Maybe you've had a disease and you fear having a relapse. Maybe failing at motherhood, failing at fatherhood, or maybe losing a child. That's a huge one. Losing hope. Maybe losing someone of any kind that you really appreciate and respect. Those are the kinds of fears that hold us back. But here's what's at the core of fears. It's the fear of being able to handle it. Because if somebody dies, like our spouse, when they die, we fear how we're going to handle our life after their death. We fear about having to handle the things that they've handled before. So we don't know how to handle it. So the fear of anything is the fear of being able to handle it. So when you understand that and you start looking at it from the other side, you start realizing, hey, is this really a fear that I have to let take hold of me? Because what is fear? Fear is you either face everything and rise, or you fear everything and run. That's the acronym for fear. And I look back on my life, there was a time when I stepped on stage in grade 6 and I did a magic trick. And I can remember standing backstage, my heart's beating, I'm probably sweating, and I have butterflies, but I am going to step on that stage and I'm going to do that magic trick. Why? Because I practiced it after school so many times with my friend Keith. And so we practice and practice and practice. I'm going to follow through with it. I committed to it and I went on that stage and I felt the fear and did it anyway. I did it and it was done within 5-10 minutes and I was a star. Because why? I went on stage in front of all my classmates, in front of an auditorium full of parents, and I did this magic trick. Now, that may not be you. You may not have done these types of things, but if you felt the fear and did it anyway, then you've built that muscle. It is a mental muscle that you can build. And the thing that stops us is a little tiny thing in our mind, and it's a little part of our mind called the amygdala. And if you haven't heard of the amygdala keeps us safe. It keeps us secure. It was established in the days when we used to run from tigers and bears and other animals that could eat us. So we have this thing in us, this amygdala, and it keeps us safe. But today, we don't have these kinds of threats. We don't have bears and tigers and cougars chasing us all the time. It just doesn't happen. So we don't have these real fears. We have fears that are created in our own minds. And you know what? Fears cannot get in us unless we let them in. Think of it this way. No amount of water in the ocean can sink a ship unless the water gets in the ship. Correct? I mean, you think about it. Massive ship, it's in the ocean. Unless the water can get in the ship, it will not sink. So, by the same token, if you do not let fears inside or stress inside or other people's anxieties inside of you, you will not go down. You will not have fear. Because you know what happens when you have fear? You do go down. You lose power. You give away your power. When you fear something, you give away power. And here is interesting research. We know that 80 to 90% of fears are made up. They are not real. They're not present. They are in the future. We just make them up and we believe that they're going to happen. Why? Because we imagined it. And if you're watching the previous video, I'll put the link below. Your subconscious mind is always listening. It's always eavesdropping. There's this part of your mind that's always listening in and tuning in, collecting information. It's a hard drive. It collects all this information about your fears, your doubts, your worries, your criticisms, everything. Collects it all, keeps it for a time when you need it. And it's just waiting for that moment that you feel that same way again, or you get triggered. And then once you're triggered, that fear comes out and it floods your conscious mind, and you either get paralyzed and hold back, or you move forward and take action. And here's the thing. If you do not have control over your thoughts or your fears, and you let them in, you let those fears in, or you let the stress in, then you're going to overreact. That's when you can't handle it. It's when you react. And if you remember this, I said it in a previous video, when your emotions are high, your intelligence is low. So when emotions are high, intelligence is low. You're not capable of making any effective decisions when your emotions are high. So if you're having a fear, even if it isn't real, your emotions will be heightened and your intelligence will be low. And so you won't make any effective decisions that way because you're not in your best state of mind. You're not at your highest and best self. And that is what's taking people down today. Why? Because they let these fears creep in. They let the media creep in. They let all sorts of information from their neighbors and their community creep in, and it has nothing to do with them. Consider this for a moment. Do you control what's going on in your community? Do you control what's going on in your country? Do you control what's going on in the world? Do you control anything that's going on in the media? No, you don't control that. What you do control are your thoughts. You control your thoughts, and if you can manage your thoughts and keep them moving towards faith, faith is the opposite of fear, then you will move forward, step forward, create the kind of circumstances that you want, and feel good about yourself. Because if you're not doing that, then you are getting paralyzed in fear, and you're hesitating, not stepping forward, and instead of doing that, you might just head to the refrigerator and eat some food, and it may not be good for you, but it's going to help you to put down the emotions of fear, to squash them, because you're eating your emotions then. So that's the kinds of thing that we have to realize. It's the fear of handling things that's at the core of all your problems. And the father of fear is worry and doubt. Worry is nothing more than negative goal setting. So don't do that anymore. Don't worry about things. Why? Because you don't control things outside of your thoughts, outside of your own world, your own environment. You don't control your family. You control you, your thoughts, and your decisions. And you have to be on the ball so that you know that you're moving forward and getting the kind of results you want, living the life you want, and feeling the fear and doing it anyway. You have to take fear with you. It's there. It's part of our emotions. It's one of our 6 emotions. Fear is just one of them. And it's not there just to cause us problems. It's there to keep us safe and secure. But we have to use it effectively. We have to understand it. And now that you understand it, and you can handle things better, and you can look forward, and you can realize what you need to do and not get caught in a loop that's holding you back, then you'll move forward. And don't get caught in the victim loop. That's where you blame, you complain, you deny, you hide, you run. That's being a victim. That's living in fear. People that move forward, take action, take risks, they get things done. And if you want a great example of a risk taker, just look at a teenager. They are risk takers. They hit that age where their hormones go through the roof, and what happens? They become the world's greatest risk takers. Why? Because they have a newfound perspective on life, and they want to attract a male or female. So they now have less fear, more action-oriented risk-taking. So if you want to look at somebody who's taking risks, teenagers, great example of that. They will move forward, do things that you wouldn't believe. So the whole idea is do what Susan Jeffers said in her book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, and take steps forward, keep taking action, and you'll start seeing results. And once you start seeing results and you deal with the pitter-patter of your heart and the butterflies, you can step forward and feel good about yourself and get things done. I got another video that you can watch over here. Just watch that video. It is a video that will give you a fear setting exercise. You can watch that, get the fear setting exercise, go through it. It's going to help you to deal with your fears immensely. So go there and watch that video right now. And just remember, you've got this and I've got your back. Thanks for watching.